we're going to bring on our very special guest. Here we go. Make sure he's camera ready. Coach Jordan Neuman, the Stuttgart Surge, head coach of the Surge. What's going on, Coach? How you doing?
What's going on, Nick? Thanks for having me on your show.
We are going to have to share a microphone, unfortunately, but we'll just pass it back and forth a little bit. So, Coach, obviously, really successful year last year by a lot of metrics. Can you just talk about a little bit of quick overview of the year as a whole? What was the task that you had to undertake to bring the Surge all the way to the point that they're at now?
Yeah, I think one of the main thing was you underestimate just learning the landscape of the league, like the rules, how recruiting works, how signing people work, just so many things. Like that was one of the big things that I learned pretty quickly that I had to figure out. And then just you're building a team as fast as you possibly can, coaches, players, everything. And then just the fact that, we had to very quickly put together a team from many different aspects. You had to take some guys, obviously guys come from Trebish Hall with me here. You had a good amount of Stuttgart Surge players that was left over. And then you had to go find 35 to 40 more players elsewhere and then build them and create a culture. And that's probably the end effect that I think was probably the thing that took us to a lot of success is we were able to build a culture pretty quickly and we were able to get guys to buy into that culture.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the culture, and I got to see it firsthand, what you guys were doing. I mean, when you started last, I guess it was January, February, and basically building all of this from the ground up and seeing you guys end up at the championship game was really an awesome thing. I mean, I think that people thought that, all right, the Surge are going to be better in this next year. But I don't think that so many people thought, oh, the Surge are going to be playing the Rhine Fire in the championship game. So that was absolutely huge. But I know you're focused on looking forward. Like that was a great season last year, but you're focused on building for next year. Can you talk a little bit about how it's been going this offseason since the championship game, recruiting wise, and looking forward to 2024?
Yeah, so the main focus in the offseason was to bring these guys back, to bring the guys we had back last year. And I think we did a great job of that. I think we'll probably get about 80% of our football team back, probably 90% of our coaching staff. And what we say all the time is it's about continuity, because if you're able to bring guys back and they have a great experience with you, which is why player experience is so important for us. And if players have a great experience, they want to come back. If they come back, it creates continuity, and continuity is what creates success. Mm-hmm. So that was point one for us into the offseason. And then point two was just like any team across the league is just, let's get more talented. Let's go find where that talent is and get more talent. And I got to give a shout out to our recruiting director and Cody Pastorino, and he did an outstanding job of tracking down a lot of guys who probably weren't even necessarily on like big radars and stuff like that. And we searched every corner of Europe and we searched every corner of the US and who was out there. And it's what's given us a great opportunity to sign our talented guys back, find new talent, get an opportunity to do some things like we did this week with having some guys coming from who's got that college experience to help us out for next year. So I'm extremely pleased. I'm extremely happy where we're at. At this point, it's nice to kind of settle in, let the recruiting stuff kind of settle down and start focusing more on the football side of things.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's huge. And we talked about just a little bit earlier, the college week, like you're getting guys, you're announcing 4 guys that have American college experience. How important is that to be able to bring some homegrown guys that have American college experience? Is that a big advantage for you guys?
It's a big advantage of the fact that they're talented football players, which is, why they're over there playing football in the first place. So that for sure is a big deal. But I say it all the time when I'm recruiting Americans and they're asking what's the competition level and stuff like. And I say all the time, hey, I've got several German players or European players who would be scholarship players in the States. They just happen to grow up here, So, the talent gap is closing more and more year after year. Europe to Americans over there. But anytime you can get a homegrown guy that's coming back with college football experience, that's obviously extremely helpful.
Quarterback, Riley Hennessy. Riley had an interesting year last year. Obviously, when he was playing quite well, but he was injured and had to miss a lot of the season. And the Surge had what I would say is pretty big quarterback adversity, playing with 3 different starting quarterbacks. Can you talk a little bit? And we had like we had the situation where the Surge were still able to continue to improve and play well and win games. Can you talk about maintaining success while having this quarterback adversity last year and having to play with different starting quarterbacks week by week?
Yeah, I mean, that never makes it easy for sure. I would say we were fortunate in the guys we were able to bring in and how things kind of went. To start with Jan Weinreich and get him in when Riley had that injury. I mean, just such a perfect fit. Came off his couch and delivered 2 out of 3 great games. We won 2 games, off of his efforts and how great he did for us. And we were so thankful for him to do that. And then, it was just kind of planned from there that, he was only going to be available for a short time. And then the fact that Kenyatta Allen was sitting there available as well is another thing that just kind of fell into our laps, and we were very lucky for, because, I mean, he was a very, very talented player as well. But at the end of the day, it was clear to everybody, and everybody knew that the second Riley was fit and ready to go, he was the guy. To me, Riley's, not only one of the best quarterbacks in the league, he's one of the best football players in the league. And to get him back was a big win for us. And just kind of how it went down this offseason was pretty interesting, just because, Riley in his mind, I think was looking to kind of move on and possibly do something else. That football passion never left him, though. That was always there. And then just kind of the more, you talk to him throughout the offseason, you kind of start hearing a little bit of, a phrase here or something there that, he might not actually be done. And that's when, things kind of started getting rolling a little later in the offseason. But the fact that it's not just the fact that he's coming back, it's the fact that he was never really retired. He always had the passion and was never really done playing. It was just kind of life circumstances to see what's kind of next were intriguing for a little bit. But at the end of the game, I mean, this guy's a football player and he wants to be back on the field.
There was just a little sliver of the door open, and Coach Neuman, you were able to get Riley back on the field. There we go. A couple people just let's see what the chat's saying. The way that players and coaches stick with him says a lot about what he has going on. I mean, I won't make you comment on that, but I will comment on that. That is something that I'm so impressed with your teams. Like, I got to be a player on your teams for 6 years or whatever it was, and then I got to see what you guys did with the Surge this year, and that's a true thing, and it's something that I really admire, and that I think this is why obviously so many people are staying, and Surge are able to build off last year and springboard into 2024, which is an awesome thing, Coach. Somebody mentioned on here in the chat the receiving trio, Geyer, Meyer, and DJ. Can you talk a little bit about this group of receivers and what, like, I mean, how great it is to have 3 different weapons like that? These are 3 guys who had 1,000-yard seasons last year. So can you talk a little bit about this weapon trio?
Yeah, I think the first thing when you think about with this trio is it's fun. I think that's one of the main things. They're just fun to watch. They're fun to be around. All of them have very, very different skill sets. All of them bring very, very different things to the table. And, as a coach, when you look at the end of the year and you got 3 guys over 1,000 yards, all of their stats pretty much almost identical to each other, it kind of shows you the balance that's spread across. So, so just having them back and having all of them back together, obviously it's that continuity word again. But it's just, I anticipate them having another great year, but, I got to say, there's several other receivers that we have coming back or we've signed new that I'm pretty excited about. And I think those 3 guys would tell you as well. They're probably going to get the majority of the looks and things like that. But we got a lot of other guys who have made critical catches in critical situations and are in there doing that dirty work and blocking and helping in the run game and stuff like that. So those 3 guys are the headliners, but looking forward to just that entire group.
Yeah, absolutely. Those guys are fun to watch. And yeah, they all have like different playing styles and have different strengths. And like, it's just interesting to see them kind of complement each other and complements what they bring to the team on the field. So it's pretty awesome to have this trio of weapons here and greats that Riley Hennessy's going to be throwing them the ball. So going into last year, obviously the Surge were more of kind of like an underdog mentality just because the nature of the situation. It was a rebuilding year. Obviously you guys are established now, and it's not so much of an underdog attitude from people on the outside. The Surge aren't seen as an underdog anymore. Does this affect, or in any of these attitudes, or does this affect how you're approaching the season this year, that you came in as an underdog last year and now you're kind of an established team, maybe with a little bit of a target on the back?
No, I don't think that changes anything. I think we have just an absolute hunger to be successful in Stuttgart, and I don't care if we're an underdog or a favorite or what. There's just, and that's always going to be there, that just level of competition and wanting to, because that's what I talk to our guys about all the time. This is why we're in Stuttgart, is because we want to compete at the highest level Europe has to offer. And we want an opportunity to compete for a championship, and we want to go find who are the best players, who are the best coaches, and we want to seek them out, and we want to go compete against them, because there's a lot of talent, a lot of very talented people, players, coaches, everything across this league, and we want to be on the same field as them as often as we can. And that's just kind of a hunger factor, a competition factor that we have in Stuttgart. And so whether we're underdogs or favorites or whatever the case may be going into a week-to-week basis, doesn't really matter.
There's a little bit, I don't know if we'll call it a rivalry just yet, but maybe it's building that way. Stuttgart Surge, Munich Ravens, two Southern Germany teams, two teams that had pretty solid years last year. You guys traded games. You won one, Munich won one. And these are, two teams that are expected to have a good, solid year. And you guys are playing in the big Nuremberg arena. Can you just talk about a little bit about kind of maybe having a little bit of a Southern Germany rivalry there, and this big game that everyone's looking forward to?
Yeah, I think anytime you're close to each other, there's a recruiting battle. And that's really where rivalries come from for the most part, is when you, just like I said, when you're close to each other like that, and you're talking to a lot of the same players, and you're going after the same players and things like that, it's just kind of a natural rivalry that builds, just because of the fact that Munich is a very, very good team. And and we had great games last year, very close, very intense games. I think that just adds to the mix of the rivalry. And I think anytime you can create those rivalries across the league, I think that's just a good thing, because it excites both teams. It excites the fan bases. And, ultimately you hope whenever we're going against each other, you can kind of feel that atmosphere in the week leading up to it. You can feel that atmosphere with how many people you have in the stands. I would say, it's turning more and more into a rivalry thing. And, I think that's a good thing.
Just turn to the chat here a little bit. We've got a former ELF coach, offensive coordinator, ELF champion, Danny Mitchell. He said, "Coach won't say it because he's one of the best, but the balance with the ball is also a sign of great offensive design and play calling. Another reason why the Surge will continue to be great." So, we got, people noticing the offensive genius of Coach Jordan Neuman, which is absolutely true. Here we go. We've got another question, Coach. Coach, tell me, what was in the mind of Harbaugh? Why didn't the Ravens run the ball more? What weird game plan was that? Do you have a comment on this, or would you like to pass?
I can't really comment on the NFL thing. But I saw it too. You never know what happened, what the game plan was going in. Maybe they saw something and they felt that was the way to go. You get into a game, you realize pretty quickly that's not how it, what you thought it was going to be, or what the success you thought it was going to be by throwing instead of running. But to the details of it, it's always hard to look from the outside, know exactly what was going on or what the thought process was.
We're turning this into the Pat McAfee show now, talking about the NFL. We're soon going to have another guest on here, another special guest, and I'm not sure yet. Maxie, let me know if he's here, if he's ready for us. Still more time, Maxie says. So because we've still got a couple more minutes, Coach. Looking around league-wide, so we talked about the Surge a lot, obviously very exciting stuff going on down in Stuttgart. League-wide, as a league as a whole, are there any other teams this offseason that you think are doing a good job solidly building for 2024? Anyone you've been impressed with?
Yeah, if I was to throw one name out quickly, it's Madrid. And what they're doing with being a new team like that, and seeing the players they've signed. And, I know we've looked at some of those, so we know, they're building some good talent over there. And then, instead of just naming a bunch individually, the one thing I'll say that's exciting about this league is you've probably got 6 to 8 teams that feel they have a real legit shot to go win a championship as soon as the ball gets kicked off next year. And that, I think, is a really good thing. I mean, you're talking about, what would that be? Almost 50% of the league probably has that feeling, and rightfully so. And then I think another great example is, the Stuttgart Surge last year. I mean, we're undefeated. We're kind of rolling, and then we play against a Switzerland team that I don't think's won a game yet. And it just shows you better be ready to play on a week-to-week basis, or anybody can step up and beat you. So, I think that's something that's really good about the league and just kind of the competition that you're seeing weekly.
Yeah, and we had a good question here from Balu. He said the recruiting looks great. Looking at the Ravens, Ryan Fire, Panthers, Surge, etc. I expect a higher level of football in the ELF in 2024. What's your opinion on this? I mean, you just touched on this a little bit, but there's a lot of good teams. Football's getting better, and the competition is there. That week by week, really any team can have it. So, Coach, we've got a special guest here. We're gonna do a couple minute cross over here. Sorry your Lions didn't make it. They were so close. I mean, hey, sensitive subject. We're not talking about this on this show today, okay? But we appreciate the condolences. We are getting told to stall by our director, so I guess we can talk about the Lions just a couple minutes. I'm sorry, this is not planned. This is adapting on the fly. And Maxie, let us know when we're ready for Coach to come in here. Can you just give me a couple comments on the Detroit Lions? You're famously a Detroit Lions fan. Great season this year. Though after the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, that was a rough one. Great team, great storyline around it, great vibe. I was actually in the stadium for the divisional round to watch that game when they play. It's got to be top 2, top 3 stadium atmospheres in all of football. And yeah, they were close. I think they had it right there at the half. But it's one of those teams who's going to bring everybody back. It's going to bring their coaching staff back. And just they'll have that continuity for next year. And I'm sure they're just going to use that as fuel. And I expect them to be right back there next year.
There we go. Very good answer. It's a promising time for the Lions. Maxie, how we doing? We ready for Coach yet? Give me a little message. We're waiting, chat. We're waiting. Still need more time. You're getting the inside info from our behind the scenes. Still need more time. Okay, well then while we have the genius football mind sitting next to me here, let's ask your prediction and thoughts about the Super Bowl.
Probably that I don't want to watch it is
both teams lose.
Yeah. I mean, you got obviously you got Kansas City, who's probably outperformed what a lot of people thought. It goes to show you what happens when you got a great quarterback in that continuity with quarterback, head coach. And then San Francisco, I mean, when they turn it on, they're obviously as good as anybody, and creative. And that's something that's fun too, is the Chiefs and winners, those are as creative of offense as you're going to get. And then surprisingly, Chiefs, I don't know if it's surprising or not, but their defense, I think, is top in the league or one of the tops in the leagues or something like that. So getting to see them match up with the 49ers offense, and really with 49ers, are you getting the 49ers from the second half in that NFC Championship game? Or are you going to get the 49ers from the first half of that NFC Championship game? And then we'll see where it ends up.
Wise words from the one and only Coach Jordan Neuman, head coach of the Stuttgart Surge. Now it looks like, I believe, we have got Coach Kalaikai, who will be joining us, head coach of the Vienna Vikings. Let's see if our internet holds up there. Coach Kalaikai, what's going on? How you doing, Coach? Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, appreciate it, guys. It's always nice to be part and involved with geniuses. And I did want to ask what happened in that Lions game to Coach Neuman, but you hit it up for me. So sorry about that, Jordan. I know that hurt.
Coach Kalaikai, we're not talking about that. I'm gonna deflect that question. Coach Neuman's not gonna be answering any questions about the Lions loss. Here's what I want to do, because it's kind of hard to do a double interview here real quick. So I just want what from each of you. This is all I want, and then we're gonna go straight to you, Coach Kalaikai. Each of you, I want you to tell me one thing you admire about the other's coaching style, ability, or what they bring to an organization, a football organization. Coach Kalaikai, you can go first. Tell us something you admire and about Coach Neuman here.
Well, I admire the fact that he's a very humble man, and it's really cool. We become friends over the years, and we talk more than probably we should as opponents. But I admire his friendship and how he treats people. I think that's the right way to do things. There's been so many discussions on ELF Live about the culture of football in Europe and the differences between the U.S. and I think he really represents that, and what he brings to the table as far as the coaching aspect of being the X's and O's part, but also the personality part, the competitiveness part of what. And 2 years ago we were talking, and I was like, hey man, you got to get in the ELF. This is where you belong. And we had long discussions about that, and obviously he's made our league better. He's made the Stuttgart Surge better, and made me better as a coach to go against him. So I'm looking forward to our future battles, and that'll come when time comes. But just him being a friend, being a great football mind, but also representing what American football should be like, and the goals that we have to set forward for this league and for the players that represent it.
There we go. Awesome, Coach. All right, great answer. And Coach Neuman, you're up.
Yeah. Well, Chris and I obviously have a very close relationship. We talk, a couple times a week, and just the fact of, he's always kind of put relationships first, to be so kind of caring, let's say, as like a mentor to me, and to, when I have questions or anything like that, still be able to kind of reach out, know I can lean on him and talk to him about anything. And, I think it's got to be said that Chris has got to be, one of the, if not the most successful that's ever coached in the history of Europe. Reason he's so long tenured at an organization like Vienna, and that's just his players love him, they play for him, and he creates a culture that I really learned a lot from in my time there. And there's a reason he's had that success over a long period of time, because guys just want to keep coming back and keep playing for him. And yeah, I mean, when you talk about European football and the history of it, I mean, you can't really talk about it without Coach Kalaikai.
Fantastic. There we go. Awesome. All right, we're gonna let Coach Neuman. We're gonna dismiss you. We're gonna let you go. Thank you so much for your time, Coach. Really appreciate it. So there you go. Later, Coach Neuman. Thanks for coming by.